Quickly, private equity eyeing Ubisoft as the next gaming acquisition. So evidently, big PE firms, Blackstone and KKR, are looking at Ubisoft. Again, not surprising because KKR and Blackstone look at a lot of this stuff. But they are basically studying the French business and looking at preliminary takeover interest. But they haven't entered into any serious negotiations yet, is what the Bloomberg sources are saying. According to sources from, this is a Kotaku article, which, take it for what that is. But Ubisoft, they have some contact at Ubisoft that basically say they're working with consulting firms historically to audit the business, to tidy up the books for sale, is the speculation, which is not kind of nonsense, really, honestly. But and this Ubisoft CEO is basically neither confirming or denying that potential buyers have approached it. Okay, and then the Kotaku gets stupid again because they're stupid, right? They basically said that claiming that they are getting Ubisoft at a huge discount because the price was $110 in 2018 and now it's 41, right? They're fucking morons, right? Absolute morons, right? The reason the stock is down more than half is because the company is fucking not performing, right? It's like, it's not worth what it was back then. It was doing well then, it's not doing well now. So that's not worth that because it was worth then, but back then. It's a ridiculous assumption, right? And what else? Oh, and they also say that the CEO is looking for an exit, right? All right. So again, I continue to believe that Ubisoft is probably the most mismanaged console PC company in the world, right? And well, besides Stillfront and Embracer. No, Embracer is more at the highest level of that. Okay. They have too many pet projects. There's not enough concentration or focus on their core franchises. They continually make the same game over and over again, and that was a problem that existed with the old boss who got fired for Me Too stuff. But I think the opportunities are pretty high, for a company to take this over because the franchises are really, really well loved, and there's a lot of appeal to those franchises. So a private equity firm makes sense because the company is relatively cheap, generally speaking, to their potential. But here's the fundamental problem. And I looked at this, and this is one of those things, these stats that I tried to research it, but because it makes no sense to me that this is true. But if it is true, this is where the opportunity really lies. So if this is not 100% true, it's basically directionally true, right? Is that they said they have 22,000 people at Ubisoft, right? 22,000, right? This compares to 11,000 for EA. EA generates $7.5 billion in revenue, and Ubisoft generates $2.3 billion in revenue. So let's get this straight. They have double the number of employees and generate 1/3 of the revenue of EA. Someone's doing something wrong, right? I mean, clearly, this is the fundamental problem. And this is why it's interesting to PE, right? It's because if they can right this ship and cut like half the people and generate more revenue, then they've actually gotten a huge return on this asset, right? Which I don't know if it's possible, but it seems plausible given what's going on, because I think if you do the stat for Activision, it's very similar, right? But there's huge risks with these type of transactions, right? Like, I don't know how many developers want to be part of Blackstone or any of these other PE firms, right? So that's one thing, right? They can lock up a lot of these employees, but ultimately, like, people are going to fall through the cracks and bail, right? And so their capabilities are going to be hindered, right? And if they do these broad sweeps of people, like basically fire everyone in Paris, for instance, right? That may cause like a ripple effect across the organization. Who knows, right?
You can't even do that. French companies can't do that. They can't.
No, I know.
It's really difficult to do that.
No, and then this is their biggest problem. So the reason I've been saying Ubisoft is not an acquisition target, so those things carry forward with the PE stuff, is that French law is so onerous in terms of firing people that you have to pay them out for a certain period of time, like an egregious amount of time, like 5 years or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
exactly
depending how long they worked at the company, you have to pay depending that, and careers are probably long at
Yeah.
Ubi.
So, in my understanding, the majority of the bloat for Ubisoft is in Paris and France in general. Like, they are just not making any games that matter out there versus, like, Montreal or other parts of their organization. So anyway, all these challenges still exist with doing this, but the good news here is that if they can come to terms with Eve and his family, who own, I think it's like 15 to 20% of the company, or voting shares anyway, maybe there's a way that they can coexist together and manage it together over this process, and it'll be interesting to see if it actually materializes. But in some ways, it's almost the only way out of this situation that they put themselves in, because I just don't think there's an appetite at the highest levels to actually do this type of work that needs to be done and cut half the people.
They have to, like, I don't know. I don't know much about Ubisoft. I because it's not a mobile company, but I did read about their latest mobile game that is coming out, the Tom Clancy shooter. And part of that, like, they were kind of explaining how they made it. There were 11 studios worldwide working on the mobile version of Tom Clancy. I'm not shitting you. I actually counted it. There's like everything from Shanghai to Helsinki to Paris to, like, everybody was giving feedback and apparently working together. And they were kind of saying how this collaboration was great, how all the 11 studios came together on one mobile game. So yes, based on that one anecdotal information, they might not be as efficient that you could be. But on the other hand, I do have to say, like, if their majority of development is out of Montreal, due to the some kind of a tax reliefs or some kind of things that are happening in the Quebec region of Canada, the man hour or the salaries are essentially net lower than the employees that you would hire in say Romania, which is like all the Romanian listeners like, no. Come on, you bastard. Say something bad about our country.
There's nothing bad about our country. Just
there's nothing bad. It's just like, it's not the wealthiest country of Europe. I don't think they're part of the Schengen.
No. Canada is not
freely around Europe.
Canada is not the wealthiest. What are you talking about?
Romania.
All right, moving on.
Romania.
Yeah, Romania is a nice country. What
it's most likely a nice country.
No.
Go ahead.
Wait, this is irrelevant facts. Like, the fact of the matter is they have 22,000 employees when they should have less than 10,000.
Yeah. All I want to say is low cost.
That's
low
what the
cost
reality
in
is.
Canada. Yeah, low cost in Canada.
It doesn't matter, low cost, no cost, whatever. The fact is, well, okay, whatever. Moving on.